how do you find new momentum in this current second half?
Right. So, well, first of all, I think, it's the normal ebb and flow of the market, right? So it's a good thing that we see volume really picking up in the months of April and May. And, the recent 2 months, maybe you see a little bit of softness. It's simply a reflection of, I think, a few things, right? The general market environment, macroeconomic conditions.
Chinese economy is not doing well.
I think, investors are worried about a lot of things these days, right?
And the flow of information out of China as well.
Election. But I always say we invest in the market for the long term, right? Yeah. So I still sort of pin my statement about being cautiously optimistic on the fact that we're sitting on very strong fundamentals, long-term promise, and we're talking about, and I've mentioned it to you before, the phenomena that the world is so underinvested in mainland China, and vice versa. Mainland Chinese investors are looking for opportunities to divest their investments overseas.
That's why southbound was up about 47%, wasn't it, from China into Hong Kong stocks?
Southbound has been very, very strong this year. In fact, it's gone up in the first half compared to last year, second half, over 20%. So we are seeing that kind of interest from investors coming down from the mainland to diversify their investments. And I think we are sitting in a very good position in terms of capturing that as the super connector.
Now, we're also hearing that perhaps Alibaba will change their listing here to a dual primary listing in the third quarter, in this current third quarter, and presumably then it could potentially be part of the Connect. Would you see that a big name like that could be a catalyst for further southbound investment, and how so?
Yeah. Well, a conversion from a secondary listing to a dual primary listing obviously give you the benefit of being Stock Connect included, or eligible for Stock Connect included. And it is something that we do speak to a lot of our listed companies, the population which is still secondary listed, for them to consider. And any successful case of conversion, I think, will be a good example to lead others to consider for themselves. So it is, I think, something which is very unique to HKEX, the ability of Stock Connect, which no other markets can offer.
Yeah. What's the IPO appetite like right now?
Yeah, I know you're going to ask me that question.
I always ask about the pipeline. You talk about
yes.
100 applications or 107 applications, but the size of the listings have not been as large as they were in the relevant period in 2023. Mm-hmm. I think there were 18 new IPOs in the second quarter. And you have also the 18C, the non-revenue listings as well. Right. So there's been activity, but it's just smaller size.
Okay, so let me give you the relevant figures. So in the first half, we've done 30 IPOs, but in the following couple of months, we've actually done really well. So year to date, we have in fact completed 43 IPOs. And just looking at the number of IPOs, we are number 4 in terms of IPO league table. Now, of course, you're going to tell me, but the deal size is so small, right? So in terms of fundraise, you're further down. It is true. And I think it's a simple reflection that business owners at the current valuation level may have second thoughts in terms of how big an IPO they want to do. However, these days when people ask me about the IPO, I usually point them to another very exciting fact, which is not very widely reported.
What's that?
Which is the follow-on offerings, which have been conducted on our market by listed company year to date. And that goes to show the depth of our market. So what am I talking about? Year to date, we've seen many companies listed on our exchange conducted follow-on offerings, and these are mega deals. I'm talking about $5 billion US. I'm talking about $2.5 billion US. And these are overnight deals, right? Quite a lot of them are a combination of convertible bonds.
Convertible bonds has been a big surge
plus,
of that.
Plus follow-on new issuance of shares.
Yeah.
And the more exciting thing, if you ask me, when I look into these deals and I spoke to the bankers involved, the participation, the book, is actually very broadly subscribed by not only investors in the region, but also investors from Europe and from the US. And that's telling me that if there is a quality name in the right sector and investors like them, they're going to participate. And that's exactly why in my dialogue with companies considering an IPO in Hong Kong and they're worried about the current valuation level, I tell them not to worry. The importance is to get the IPO done first. Our market is very deep, very efficient when it comes to follow-on offerings, and I think the recent slate of deals proved it.